12 signs that the U.S. consumers are experiencing far more financial stress than most people realize, Michael Snyder reports. Consumer sentiment is plummeting, delinquency rates are rising, and nearly 3/4 of all U.S. consumers admit that they are financially stressed. If U.S. consumers are experiencing this much pain right now, what will things look like 6 months from today if there are empty shelves and widespread shortages? We witnessed a brief period of severe financial stress during the early days of the last pandemic, but we would have to go all the way back to the Great Recession to find the time that is truly comparable to what we are enduring now. U.S. consumers have been getting hammered for years, and now it appears that our problems are about to go to an entirely new level. The following are 12 signs that U.S. consumers are experiencing far more financial stress than most people realize. 1. According to the University of Michigan, consumer sentiment in the United States has fallen to the second lowest reading ever recorded. Americans are rarely this pessimistic about the economy. Consumer sentiment plunged 11% this month to a preliminary reading of 50.8, the University of Michigan said in its latest survey, released Friday, the second lowest reading on record going back to 1952. Number 2, according to a new CNBC survey monkey poll, a whopping 73% of U.S. consumers admit that they are financially stressed. Americans are growing increasingly uneasy about the state of the U.S. economy and their own personal financial situation in the face of stubborn inflation and tariff wars. To that point, 73% of respondents said they're financially stressed, with 66% of that group pointing to the tariff wars as a main source, according to the new CNBC SurveyMonkey online poll. The survey of 4,200 U.S. adults was conducted April 3rd to 7. 3. Approximately 2/3 of U.S. adults feel like they are behind on their savings goals, and half of U.S. adults believe that they will never reach their saving goals at all. 67% of Americans fell behind on their savings goal, with nearly half, 47%, believing they'll never reach their targets. 4. More than 60% of U.S. adults that currently have savings accounts have taken money out of them since the start of this year. 63% of people with saving accounts have withdrawn money since the beginning of 2025, primarily for unexpected expenses, 48%, and everyday necessities, 36%. Number 5, the percentage of U.S. credit card accounts that are at least 90 days past due has reached the highest level in 12 years. The percentage of credit cards accounts that were at least 90 days past due hit a 12-year high in the fourth quarter of 2024, and according to data from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, 0.90% of accounts are delinquent, the most since the Fed Bank began its report. 6. 5 million student loan borrowers in the United States have not made a single payment in the last year, and 4 million other student loan borrowers will soon reach that status. Of the more than 42.7 million student loan borrowers in the U.S. who owe a collective of $1.6 trillion, the department says that more than 5 million have now made a payment in the last year, have not made a payment, and that number is expected to grow as an additional 4 million borrowers are approaching default status. 7. For the first time in about 5 years, the Department of Education will resume collections of its defaulted federal student loan portfolio. This is going to put additional financial stress on millions of U.S. households. The U.S. Department of Education today announced its Office of the Federal Student Aid, FSA, will resume collection of its defaulted federal student loan portfolio on Monday, May 5th. The department has not collected on defaulted loans since March 2020. Resuming collections protects taxpayers from shouldering the cost of federal student loans that borrowers willingly undertook to finance their post-secondary education. And this initiative will be paired with a comprehensive communications and outreach campaign to ensure borrowers understand how to return repayment of or get out of default. Number 8, The average credit score in the United States just dropped by the fastest pace since the Great Recession. America's credit score just took its biggest hit since the 2008 crash. The average FICO score in the US has dropped to 715 from 717, the largest one-year drop since the Great Recession, according to new data from the credit card rating giant FICO. 9. U.S. consumers are eating out less, and as a result, restaurant chains all over the country are in financial stress. Once rapidly growing commercial marvels, casual dining chains, sit-down restaurants, and where middle-class families can walk in without a reservation, order from another human and share a meal, have been in decline for most of the 21st century. Last year, TGI Fridays and Red Lobster both filed for bankruptcy. Outback and Applebee's have closed dozens of locations. Pizza Hut locations with actual dining rooms are vanishingly rare, with hundreds closed since 2019. And according to a February survey by the market research firm Data Centio, 24% of Americans say they are having dinner at casual restaurants less often, and 29% are dining out less with groups of friends and family. 10. U.S. consumers are visiting shopping malls a lot less than they once did, and as a result, many mall retailers are going belly up. Merry-Go-Round, Bon-Ton, and Lord & Taylor, The Limited, Loehmann's, Bonwit Teller, Chess King, and Anchor Blue are just a few once successful clothing retailers that no longer exist. And now, a once trendy fashion clothing retailer finds itself having to make massive cuts and shutdowns 100% of its hundreds of its stores in a fight to avoid bankruptcy. 11. U.S. consumers are not spending as much money at hair salons, and Bloomingdale's telling us that this is an indicator that a recession is coming. Stylists from Manhattan to rural New Hampshire are seeing regular clients start to skip cuts and blowouts in from the main tower of Brewer. Hairstylist Elisa Dow said customers are choosing cheaper, more low-maintenance looks and tipping less in affluent Longmeadow, Massachusetts, where people do not like to walk around with roots showing. Clients who previously got color every 2 weeks or 3 weeks are stretching it to 4 or 5 weeks, citing the political situation and implying they've lost money in the stock market, said Michelle Lavalley. They're cutting back in other areas as well, so it's not just us, said the salon owner, who has 28 years in the business. The wider pullback in spending seems to go beyond the general grumpiness that accompanied the so-called vibe session that started years ago when inflation rose, interest rates spiked, and yet the U.S. kept growing. Number 12, according to the Fed, U.S. consumers are becoming more concerned about inflation and unemployment. The central bank's monthly survey of consumer expectations showed that respondents saw inflation a year from now at 3.6%, an increase of half a percentage point from February and the highest reading since October 2023. And along with concerns over a higher cost of living come a surge in worries over the labor market. The probability that the unemployment rate will be higher a year from now surged to 44%, a move up of 4.6 percentage points, and the highest level going back to the early COVID pandemic days of April 2020. Right now, economists all over the country are arguing about whether a recession is ahead of us or not, but to millions of hardworking Americans, it feels like a recession has already begun. If you're currently experiencing financial stress, I want you to know that you are not alone. This is countless others are in the exact same boat, and the outlook for the months ahead is not promising at all. Michael Snyder reports on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. About the author, Michael Snyder's new book, a blockbuster entitled Why, is available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He also has written 8 other books available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of Future America, The Beginning of the End, Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he always freely and happily allows others to publish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.